Hello everyone, this is Gorax. In today's video we will compare Thunderbolt and Dauntless team against Talwer. We'll do over 12 different formations including free to play and pay to win ones. Before I show you all the teams, there's something really important for you to remember during all the fights that I'm going to show you. I don't have an affinity boost for lightning and poison team except for this 9% attack, because this account has to reflect what I have on my main account. So we're losing 9% HP, we're losing all the accuracy and all the resistance, as well. We are still getting this elemental damage for the 5 bonus, but we are not getting anything else beside that. So keep that in mind. So if you're invested into lightning and fire team beyond this point, your damage will increase compared to what I'm showing, because you will also have an extra defensive stats as well as the offensive ones. Okay, so Talwer is the new chief challenge boss. Basically, his damage is coming from his ultimate, and he also does debuffs that are quite annoying because we have attack penalty, that's alright, and accuracy penalty, which really makes applying any debuffs through our melee heroes hard. And he also does taunt and blind through his mushrooms that he spawned. So the good tactic is really important here, and I'll explain that. Basically, the general rule here is you want to bring the least melee heroes armament possible. Definitely the tank. So far, out of the 2 tests, which is Irzelis and Talwer, both of those tests may basically test our tank. We have to have a strong tank that can survive, and if the tank can survive, we can do 22 million damage. If you see here, again, I'm not using any extra affinity, which is like accuracy, resistance. Okay, it's very basic. The extra one we have is the 9% attack for this team, for these elements, which is poison and lightning. And the general rule here is avoid melee. It's better to bring in a range hero here instead of Shainaschtan and run tank and a healer here, because if you do it this way, this is the perfect formation. I think there might be a better one, but this way, only tank will be getting damage from the ultimate. So yeah, I started with Perkunte and basically Thunderbolt team, because what I want to test here is different teams for Thunderbolt and different teams for Dauntless. Since I said that I will avoid melee, I'm not going to run a melee Dauntless team, because it is not going to work as good as other heroes. Now, since he's applying a lot of debuffs, you might consider going for resistance on the ones that will be taking damage, and that's a mistake. See, the first team that I've tried was a team with Frurbath focusing on accuracy to apply attack penalty to, and resistance to avoid getting hit by the taunt and crowd control, similar for Shainaschtan, who is built as a tank. Look at the HP, look at the defense, huge accuracy and resistance, but despite having over 300 resistance, he is still getting taunted, blinded occasionally. So I'm gonna run this first fight. After I walk through the heroes that I fought, I'm going to use myself, because this is the team that I was thinking about using myself. This is a team that I can build, and this is why you can see Perkunte here. There are free-to-play friendly teams following this, but this team will give you an idea what not to do. So the tank, as I said, built around defense, and I'm going to try and minimalize using legendary artifacts after this team. Obviously, since I have Perkunte, with this artifact, with his exclusive artifact, I want to utilize that. Okay, so when I have a chance to run Perkunte, I'm gonna use that artifact because I have that on global. Obviously, you might not have Perkunte and his artifact, but there are teams that will work for you going forward. So don't worry, okay? This is just me trying something to show you what not to do and how this belongs. Okay, so the only legendary artifact that we will use through all the fights is Witches Remain. This is a season 2, and if you've been following season 1, you know this is the priority for everyone. And if you've been unfortunate enough to not have Witches Remain in season 2, then you can replace it with Crown. Okay, I'll not use Crown later on, but we need artifacts with accuracy, and we're bringing Iola, and Iola will be the core hero here because she can apply this, which is Remain, and also she can help us to keep this Serial's Lightning Armor. So we want this. We want this extra 15% attack when she casts the ultimate. And the last one is Vicuc, who is quite good here. Vicuc is amazing here because he's got Dispel. He can dispel 2 debuffs. Okay, so that's really helpful. And when he dispels, he gains an increased healing. So that's what we want here. And yeah, he can also apply attack penalty. So in this case, I also went for accuracy, and I went for this damage reduction equipment on him, so he can remove 15% damage from those 2 in the front line and absorb it. We went with attack aura, obviously, and the timings, we didn't go for any. And I'll tell you why. I've noticed that when I play on default, my damage is going higher. So definitely try default first, and then adjust, make it the perfect timings, which I'll go over in the next team. Try that and see the difference, because sometimes default is just so much better, especially in the teams where they don't rely on synergy, just pure damage. So this is the first team that we've done, and I'll tell you guys, don't do that. Let's play that fight. So as you can see, despite having high resistance, I'm still constantly debuffed and controlled, both by Taunt and Blind. And when we have accuracy debuff on our Frurbath and Shainaschtan, the chance of applying these crucial debuffs is low. So our Perkunte's damage is lower than it should be. Ours attack down does not happen when it's supposed to. But since we have basically 3 sources of attack down here with Iola's ultimate, with Frurbath's ultimate, and Vicuc battle skill, there is still a high upkeep of it. But the biggest disappointment is Shainaschtan. I tried to build him more offensive, and he still didn't do much damage. So yeah, definitely not a good hero for this battle. So as you can see, 12 million is where a tank falls. That's 7 stacks. But I mean, for some of you, 11 million damage might be enough, but not for me. Especially not with Perkunte and his exclusive artifact. I'm expecting better results here. Running this 2 legendary heroes team with 2 legendary artifacts. Now the next teams, they are going to have spoiled damage when I'll talk about them, okay? So I'll tell you what damage I made with it, and then we're gonna run the fight. But as you can see here, 14.5 million. I mean, it's not bad, but I would expect more from this team. And yeah, as I said, the equipment that we run here is mostly legendary equipment now, because at this stage you should be farming legendary equipment. There's no excuse. But as you can see, 2 legendary artifacts with basically epic artifacts now. So I thought, okay, maybe the problem is the resistance, because our tanks are dying. So I've changed the equipment here, and as you can see, I've put more defensive equipment on Troll. His stats are better, and now also I've put Spiritual Incense Burner on Vicuc, allowing us to play with timings. And Vicuc can, with this artifact, go below 18 seconds, meaning he can always cast his ultimate when we received the accuracy and attack penalty debuffs, which means he will increase his healing through removing this debuff. So that's what we want. And I went for Iola with a rotation. So the damage is coming from the ultimate. She is not at 18 seconds, but it is at least something. And Frurbath at 12 seconds, maybe there will be a chance. I mean, he's got a low chance to apply in that. So yeah, we want to try Shainaschtan. We want him to apply this electrocuted before we follow with this ultimate, and I don't know why the game does it, but timing here was 12 and obviously 20 because that's the cooldown. So that's why I thought, and that's why I went with this team. Okay, so no resistance, as you can see, and no accuracy. I just went for pure stats, but I kept that on Shainaschtan because we need that electrocuted, and this is why we have him here. We need that electrocuted to boost Perkunte's damage. So that's the idea behind this team, and let's see if the damage has changed. Obviously, if we are thinking about it, we're not running resistance, so we are getting control more often. We are getting attack penalty more often, but those 2 heroes, they don't do damage anyway, so we don't care. And also, we could think that our heroes will die quicker because we're not applying attack penalty through Frurbath's ultimate. So let's see if the score will increase or not. So as you can see now, Vicuc casts his ultimate after these debuffs. He removes them, and we get an extra heal. But they are still constantly debuffed, because this is not a single hit, right? So while we dispel, we're still getting more debuffs. So as you can see, this spore, it is constantly applied to us. So even if we dispel, we're still getting it. So you either bring debuff prohibition here, well, debuff immunity, or else you'll end up with those. So that's why I said there's no reason for us to have this resistance, because even with 300 we're still getting it. And this is the summary of my yesterday's stream. However, there are a few different formations that I've managed to do today that have not been shown on the stream. So they will come in later in the video, and they focus mainly on the free-to-play friendly side. So Shainaschtan, despite being built as a tank, has fallen. and now Frurbath will follow. Obviously there's a little bit of randomness in these fights, so I can do between 14 to 16 million damage here. As you can see, that the resistance didn't really make an impact, and we lost so much. We lost so much defensive stats going for that accuracy and resistance that didn't pay off, and I'm gonna improve that team going forward. Because the more you fight, the better understanding of this fight you will have, and you'll see how much my team improved. So the next thing I thought about is going Dauntless. I mean, the old Dauntless team, and this is not a team I came up with. I would never use Nimbus, I would never think of Nimbus, but I've been given this information by one of my guildmates, and apparently I think it's been also released on Discord. This is a team that can do over 30 million damage. And again, not even using legendary artifacts and not using the affinity bonus. Only Witches Remain, which I'll keep on using. You can replace Witches Remain with the Crown, but I believe most free-to-play players, low spenders, especially mid and high spenders, they will have that artifact. This is the best artifact in the game, period. Okay, so you want to use that. And this is the team again, same placement, except for Vicuc jumping into the front. And now I've tried different sets on Vicuc, and this one works the best in my opinion. On top of the healing from this ultimate, we will have a single target heal, which will help keep our Frurbath alive, and you'll notice that. Okay, the fight will be longer, and yes, I'm using Fireball, but that's the starting point. I want to start high and go lower. Okay, so I'll start with these less free-to-play friendly teams and transition them to free-to-play friendly teams. That's the goal. We will find replacements for everything, but I have Fireball myself, so I wanted to try it. And yeah, let's go over the equipment quickly before we go over heroes and why we use them. So yeah, again, full stats, full tank stats on our troll. We want defensive equipment, as much defense as possible, because it will help us with this Scarlet Amulet shield, as well as healing coming from him. Again, this set to keep that 15% attack up, and mostly accuracy as well to keep it, because our accuracy is low. Now we have this healing here. Since we have attack up here, we want to keep our tank alive. As long as the tank is alive, we do more damage. We don't want the tank to die. We want to time out or burst them down. Okay, but this works. This is a team that will do over 30 million, and it's amazing. Fireball with Silver Star Horseshoe, we want this crit damage and attack speed here, and Nimbus with attack speed artifact and extra chance of crit. Both of them rocking a Gambler set because of how much attack they do and attack speed, basically. So the chance of doing this is way higher, and totally offensive stats. We don't worry about them dying because nothing's gonna hit them. And as you can see, this team managed to do over 30 million damage. As I said, a little bit of randomness, but I'll show you how this plays out. And the set with the healing is really keeping Frurbath alive. So I was expecting Dauntless not to perform well, because obviously we have Thunderbolt team, and Thunderbolt can apply Electrocuted to multiple targets, which are the Shrooms, and basically trigger that into damage. But this is an old school team that works really well. I mean, we don't really care about Frurbath getting taunted, getting debuffed. He's not here to apply attack down. He's not here to apply attack penalty. We have 0 accuracy on him. And same with Vicuc. We have, I think we got accuracy on him enough to apply attack penalty, but it's not what we're doing here. And you'll see, I'll transition that team. I'll even change that team, replacing both Frurbath and Vicuc in the feather fights, which I haven't done on stream. So we'll just wait for it. Basically, what we want is, seriously, the only thing that we really want is a range attack penalty applier which could be Irina in my case, because she's epic and I already have her leveled up. But you could even go with, sorry, Iola, but you could go with Irina. She's got attack down as well, and she can fill the similar role, although applying defense penalty with Irina will be a little bit tougher. You could try Twitch. I haven't tried any of those heroes instead of Iola, because Iola is quite easy to get. I mean, people who I spoke with, they usually have Iola. They don't have supports like Vicuc, they don't have supports like Adolphus, but most of the player base seems to have Iola. And yes, I'll also bring a total free-to-play team. I'll replace Frurbath for those of you who don't have it, so that's common, okay? We just need to survive through this fight. It will take a little bit to go through them, but you'll have the understanding. And look at that, we are at 12 million now with 6 stacks, and we're not taking damage on Frurbath. And look at this heal, okay? 19,000. So we're keeping him alive. And you could see that 9k heal plus this ultimate. So this is really helping, okay? This helps top up our Frurbath. And we are at 8 stacks now. And as you can see, Vicuc is taking minimal damage here, only 22k, because Talwer is only hitting Frurbath, so we want the single target heals, really, or AoE heals that have a huge scaling. And the fight will finish either by our tank dying or us timing out, basically. That's what we want. As long as the tank is alive, we can deal damage. And that's us having max rewards now. And for me to build this team, the team that I've been using here, I only need to level up Farival, Vicuc, and Nimbus. And scroll only Nimbus. Everyone else has been scrolled since I used them in Season 1. And the strategy for all the teams that I'm going to show you is the same. It's just the end result that changes and the equipment on specific heroes. So remember, if you've been maining Lightning and Poison this season, you can definitely add a 10 to 20% damage increase to the total score I'm going to have, because I have no affinities whatsoever. My affinities went to my Ice Blast team, and I'm trying to recreate that icon here on the test server. We have 15 stacks, Frurbath is about to die, but we are also about to time out. So this is really what we want. This is our goal. Either tank die by the end, or we time out with enough damage. And again, as I said, try running it with timing and run it without timing on default and see what works best. Because I'll show you a few scenarios later on when the default actually does more damage than me setting up a timer. So yeah, 32 million, right? So that is more spender-oriented team. Now, this is a more free-to-play friendly Dauntless team. I replaced, look what I've done here, I replaced Farival with Vani. So that's what I've done. I got rid of Legendary Hero. Equipment-wise, I put my Farival's equipment on Vani, because she works in a similar fashion. She wants attack speed, And she's Dauntless as well, so she goes with Nimbus. And that's the only thing I've done. That's the only thing I've done, the only change. Replace the hero, put that hero's equipment on the replaced hero, and I set the same timing. I don't know why the game keeps doing that, but this time a little bit different because Vani increases attack speed of all Dauntless heroes, so we want to do it before this. But as I said, try default. Different times will work. The only thing that we really want to keep using when we use Vicuc is this 18.5 and 18. This is the best time to heal, extra healing, and stuff. So yeah, again, no accuracy, no resistance. We have accuracy on Vicuc in this case still to apply this attack penalty. And again, our only attack down will be coming from her. And again, remember, no accuracy here, no resistance. So getting this stats was quite hard, and this is why we want to avoid them. And attack aura, and let's go with this team, okay? So this is a free-to-play friendly team that is able to do... Oops, that's not it. So the free-to-play friendly team is able to do 16 million damage. Which again, if you have all these extra affinities, you should probably be at 20 million, because it's not only damage increase you will have, it will be also the HP and defensive stats of these heroes. So during this test, I was really surprised by the damage Nimbus has been able to dish out, basically. She could work instead of Viola, but the timing will be different for Vicuc. It will be harder to play it on auto because of recharge speed penalty, basically of stealing that ultimate. So yeah, you could go default, as I said, with Shuk and it will work. I mean, as long as Vicuc heals between the ultimate and the first skill, you're all set, because that's where his extra healing comes from. And we want that extra healing to make sure we can always have Frurbath at maximum HP. And as you can see, Vani is doing well. She outdamages Nimbus. Now don't worry if you don't have Vicuc. I also tested other healers, so those formations will come soon. I also tested different tanks because I was wondering myself, because obviously there are bosses that take extra damage from the poison team, and maybe Frurbath will work there. I haven't tested them yet. I mean, I haven't tested the other bosses, but yes, other tanks work as well. I didn't test them with every team I did. I tested them basically later on, so you will see that they still can tank, and maybe even one of them is better than Frurbath. So as you can see, we are at 15 million damage. We can get to 16 before we die, hopefully. But that's basically the average I had, like 16 million damage with this team. Just again, quick glimpse at the equipment. Right, it's total damage here, huge stats with huge crit, as you can see. That's the free-to-play friendly team with only one legendary artifact. Now, moving forward for about changing the Thunderbolt team a little bit, we're going to run it with range heroes, and we'll start with epic one. So I think Manda has been really not hyped enough. I've used her and she was doing wonders for me on a test server. So we'll go over the equipment. Again, as I said, when I'm using Perkunte, I'm going to use his exclusive artifact because that's what I own on the global server. And yeah, okay, so again, Frurbath will be built with this defensive stats. We're skipping resistance, we're skipping accuracy. Iola, going forward, Frurbath, Iola, and Vicuc will have the same equipment constantly, okay? So we're doing this. We're going for this skill on the timing, and I brought in Crown of the Unclean with accuracy because we need accuracy artifact on her to apply Thunderbolt. And as you can see, I'm doing something cheeky here. She is using that heal set as well, and I'll tell you why. If we look at the skills of Manda, her ultimate doesn't do damage. It's a boost. It's a skill that boosts the turrets. So you know she's really like she doesn't even have skills that deal damage really. So I thought, yeah, I can make her a second support and keep Frurbath alive and deal damage with Perkunte. And that's what I've done. So let me quickly go through the stats so you can have a visual of how much stats this team is rocking, so you can compare that yourself when you decide to run it. But yeah, as you can see, 2 sets with single healing, because I realized we need to have basically we need to keep Frurbath alive, and if we keep Frurbath alive, we can do damage. If we last 5 minutes, then the more damage we do. And obviously Manda is not someone you would expect damage from because she doesn't have any damage skills, but her turrets, it constantly, well, not constantly because it's not really constant, but you can see that they apply this electrocuted, which helps us build overwhelmed stacks on Perkunte. So when he has the ultimate, his ultimate is dealing more damage. And this is again a reason why I would not bring a Dauntless melee team against Talwer. We want to avoid that. We want to avoid that melee team. You saw me using Shainaschtan, who is better than Manda. And he died, Frurbath also died, so all these Dauntless melee heroes, they will die unless you build them in a defensive equipment, but that's not what you want on them. You want them to deal damage. So avoid bringing your melee Dauntless team here unless you're not aiming for highest scores possible, or you're a big whale who can use Zephy and Ogok with the immortality as well. That will definitely work. So yeah, although Shaltar and others are amazing, it's really hard to pull off a good team. And same with the Thunderbolt heroes, we have this rare that is melee. He is a very good hero. He does a lot, does quite a lot of damage, but I can't bring him in because strategy for this boss is as follows: a tank and a support that are getting taunted, a range attack down applier, and your damage dealers. It can be Perkunte. I think the problem with Thunderbolt is the only hero that deals damage is Perkunte. If you don't have Perkunte, you can't build Thunderbolt team. The other heroes just don't do the damage. And later on, you will see Nissa as well, instead of Manda. But the goal here is simple. When we use ultimate, we heal a single target, and the target that is taking damage is Frurbath, so we have extra healings. And look at that, Manda's done 14% of the team's healing. It's not much, right? But it's helping Frurbath to survive. And you know, we are at 10 stacks already. In a previous team, we died at around that time, so you know, we're going forward, we're going to go through, and we're gonna hit this 20-something million damage. And on my main account, I can use Nissa myself here instead of Manda. So I want to test them. The issue with Nissa is I don't really have master scrolls, so it's really hard to level her skills compared to Manda's skills, because I have an excess of these epic scrolls. But I don't have enough scrolls to level up all the legendary heroes. So that's why I'm doing these tests, not only for you guys, but also for me, so I can test the teams that can work for me. And this is why I'm not pushing these affinity levels beyond what I have on my main account, because I want to be able to reflect and see what I can do. And as you can see, Frurbath is doing well, he can survive. Damage wise, it's obviously Perkunte. Manda's still out damaging Iola, so it's not bad. We run a set that helps us survive instead of offensive set. So yeah, I was really happy with this team, considering I can save scrolls and go for Manda instead of Nissa. And the next team that I tried was with Nissa, right? And again, same equipment pattern. Basically, I replaced Manda's equipment with Nissa's equipment, and this team allowed me to hit 32 million damage. So, despite Nissa not getting high, well, people not hyping Nissa, I was still able to do more damage than with Manda here. And again, I'm using this set to bring extra healing and help Frurbath to survive, to basically time out and do this 30-something million. And as you can see, Nissa is way better at applying this electrocuted, as Perkunte's overwhelmed stacks are just going crazy. Look at this. He's at 0 right now, she's after the ultimate, but we're still getting the stacks. 5, 6. Okay, so we are getting way more stacks per ultimate of Perkunte compared to Manda or Shainaschtan. This is why Nissa is such a good enabler for Perkunte's damage. So with Nissa, we can definitely boost Perkunte's damage. We can do same with Manda, and I mean, if you're not really bothered about the difference of the damage, or you don't have Nissa, you still have Manda, or you want to save the scrolls, Manda is a good option compared to Nissa. If you want to max out the damage, this is the team basically. But on the other hand, if you don't have Perkunte, you can forget about Thunderbolt team. This is sad, but I'm expecting them to bring in one more Thunderbolt team hero in upcoming Dungeon and Dragon collab. All the heroes you can see in that video are scrolled. All the heroes have max levels, despite me not having max level of on Nissa on global. I max out the skills because I can see the full potential of that hero and see if it's worth scrolling. Because if I compare scrolled Manda to unscrolled Nissa, Manda will definitely be better. I mean, the damage is not coming from Nissa or Manda. The damage is coming from Overwhelm ability, which is the passive on Perkunte. The more stacks of Overwhelm he has, the more damage he does. So, you know, as long as you have Nissa with this 100% chance to apply Electrocuted and Haste on her to still reflect the cooldown I have with the scrolls, you don't need to invest into scrolls. I mean, maybe you don't need that healing set, right? Maybe you don't need it. I mean, it's only 30k healing, really, it's not much. But I mean, it helps. What else could we wear there, right? We could wear another serial set to get a 15% damage and rotate those between those two heroes. But in the end, as I said, we deal damage as long as the tank dies, so as long as the tank is alive. So if you time out and your Frurbath is constantly at 100 or 50% HP, you might consider switching Nissa's equipment to the more offensive one and see if the total damage you do will be better. I mean, that's another way you can change what you see in here. And remember, you'll probably do more damage than I do if your affinities are developed. But also keep in mind that I'm using a full legendary equipment, but without legendary artifacts. So that's another way you can improve your damage. Obviously not in this case, because Perkunte has his exclusive artifact, which reflects my main account. But yes, if you don't have Perkunte, you should not play with electricity. I mean, he is the only damage dealer. Well, the melee hero is also good at dealing damage. The rare, or is it? No, it's an epic. Yeah, he's good at dealing damage, but he's melee, and we don't want melee heroes here except for a tank. Okay, as you can see, 32 million timed out, the tank died, so perfect, basically. That's what we want. 32 million, as I said, you can add 10 to 20% depending on your affinity. Now, Dauntless team, we're putting in Vani, but I think I've done it already, did I not? Oh no, okay, so that's for those who don't have Nimbus. So if you don't have Nimbus, you might consider going Vani, and the difference is only 1 million damage. The equipment is the Nimbus is 1, so we wear the same equipment here. And hold on, was it this one? Okay. So yeah, this is the team with Vani instead of Nimbus. So for those of you who don't have Nimbus or have Nimbus but can't really upgrade his skills, and you already had Vani like me in Season 1, you might consider going for this team here. And ideally, you want them to cast at the same time. But I've noticed that when I just let them do their job, they are so much better at it. So yes, another thing that I didn't mention is Talwer gets damage reduction when an enemy has a debuff 1. But despite that, we still don't want resistance on the Frurbath. Because if we put resistance, we're losing this stats, this offensive stats. I mean defensive stats. You might be lucky and find perfect equipment with defense percent, HP percent, defense and resistance. That will work in your favor, but even without that, it's just better to skip that. I mean, as I said, despite me having 300 resistance, I was still constantly debuffed. So it's not, I don't see a point of going resistance in this case. And I really wish they increase the speed of these fights. Because, you know, watching this fight go through every time, 5 minutes, we're adding to like over an hour and something of a video just covering 12 teams, really. Yeah, if the resist cap is at 360 resistance, it's very, very hard to get without the affinity bonus. And this team doesn't have that affinity bonus, which equals to 50 extra resistance. Okay, so here we are. I'm going to speed it up a little bit. 27 million right now. And the team can do up to 29. And the timings here, I find them work the best when Frurbath, despite Frurbath not having accuracy, we still cast it at 12. Iola at 22 and then default, because Iola will be the one applying. Vicuc still the same, 18 and 18. Oh, that's actually wrong. That should be 18 and a half and 18. So yeah, that was bad on my part here. So we could probably go even higher than that. And yeah, basically everything here on default. We want them to deal as much damage as possible. And here is another free-to-play team. This time around, I'm replacing healers, as you can see. And I'm starting with Nathaniel, and Nathaniel will use the shield equipment, so, you know, enlightenment, and also this healing set. So when he casts his ultimate that grants us shield, he will also heal on top of it. And we want as much enlightenment as possible. And I'm still using the Frurbath, but I'm going to use the free-to-play heroes. Well, the more free-to-play friendly heroes. And I've tried to put this timing zone. As you can see, I followed a similar fashion here. And yes, this team can deal up to 19 million damage on average. But from my observation, I found out that Nathaniel is the weakest one when it comes to keeping Frurbath alive. And as I mentioned, I didn't want to run more than one legendary hero in a team, so I didn't run heroes like Ogok. I didn't run heroes like Zephy. Those will definitely help to keep your team alive for longer, but I preferred to put a one legendary hero and it to be damage dealer. I mean, if you can see me running this team here with free-to-play heroes, free-to-play damage dealers, and you got Ogok or Zephy, you can replace Nathaniel and try it. That's the idea here. I'm giving you a base that you can apply to yourself, depending on the heroes you have, and I'm giving you quite a lot of bases in this this time around compared to my Burn and Wild team. So in my Burn and Wild team, I was mainly focusing on comparing them, and the video was only 24 minutes long. We have only like 5 setups. This video is more comprehensive. This video tries to cover all possible scenarios, but obviously I can't really test all of them because that will take me weeks just to cover one boss, and I want to cover as many bosses as possible. So as you can see, yes, it's way harder to keep Frurbath at max HP even at lower stacks, but it still works. It still works better than the full Dauntless melee team, as people who I've been talking to say it's between 8 to 11 million damage they are doing, with like Nastienka and others, so definitely range is an answer here. And there goes our tank. So as I said, Nathaniel is not really good at keeping our tank alive, so let's redeploy. And again, at similar time, so 19 million is what I got on average. And I also went for full lightning team with Lydia. So people ask me if Lydia can tank, and as you can see, spoiler alert, she can. It's just dependent on the support that we have. So there's Lydia. This is the timing here. We want control immunity when the shrooms start to happen, and we want 18 seconds. Obviously, the cooldown is here 20, so it's not gonna work. And not enough haste. And again, similar here on our Iola 22 and then 12, 18 and a half here and default here. So we want to use that. Equipment wise, again, no legendary equipment beside, which is a remain, and basically the same equipment here. Lydia is using this Frurbath set. You could go for more attack speed to have more shields on her. But yeah, let's keep it this way. And this team, spoiler alert, around 13 million, the weakest of them. And that's because Nathaniel had problems keeping Frurbath alive. So Lydia is a little bit weaker than Frurbath. So again, Vani doing a good job, Nimbus as well, but obviously if you have Farival, he's godlike here. I mean, I didn't expect single target to still be better here than Thunderbolt. I was hoping Thunderbolt will be good. I mean, it's better, but Thunderbolt can do more damage if we have Nissa, basically, if we go in more legendary oriented team. But so could Dauntless. I mean, if we run proper Dauntless range team with better heroes, we can probably outdamage that. So yeah, Nissa falls, and that's us finished. And yeah, so the team can do 13 million on average, and I mean, no legendary hero, single legendary artifact. But now, what's gonna happen is I'm going to put Vicuc back in, and the damage is going to stay on 22 million on average. Better than with Frurbath and Nathaniel. So equipment plan, again, Vicuc using the same equipment, mandatory. We want this rotation here at 18.5 every 18 seconds to dispel plus Past Eye healing. Damage dealers, same equipment as in previous fights, and same with Iola, nothing changing here. And Lydia using Frurbath's equipment. The timings default, and this is what is changing my mind. Basically, I've been trying to set up this perfect, timings. But when I do that, the average damage is 16 million. It's 6 million less than me playing it on default, full auto, not worried about anything. And this team might not be like super free to play friendly because you might not have Vicuc, Nimbus, Lydia, or Iola. You might not have one of them, but it gives you an idea how to replace your heroes and what to put. I mean, I've covered so many scenarios, and there's one more to go, that you can choose between those heroes that I showed and make your own team. Pick these pieces and make them whole, basically. So yeah, we have this control immunity here, so Lydia might be essential for the Dauntless melee team, but I still believe it's not an answer here. You don't want Dauntless melee team here. Because we remember the Thunderbolt fight when I had Shainaschtan. So Shainaschtan was a second melee, and he dies. You need to build your second melee full tank, and the issue will be you will have two heroes taking damage. Now we have only one, really. Look at the damage, yeah. Vicuc is barely taking any damage. So if you have two heroes taking damage, the healing set on Vicuc would not go for your tank. It will go to the second melee occasionally. So you're losing that extra burst heal. I mean an extra single target heal. So you definitely don't want that. You want single melee and support behind that tank. Well, melee. You want a tank and a support behind the tank, followed with 3 range heroes and one of them with attack down. However, during my tests against the fire boss Irzilis, I didn't even need attack down, really. Probably bringing an extra damage dealer would increase your damage. But again, we want this witches remain on. We want this crown on. We want this debuff we want this debuff to increase our damage. But yeah, as you can see, 12 million damage now. Lydia is doing good. And I mean, compare Lydia with Nathaniel to Lydia with Vicuc. She is solid choice. She's a solid tank here. She can do shields herself to absorb damage. And this team doesn't have legendary artifacts. This team has only witches remain. And Iola's ultimate is not every 18 seconds because she doesn't have haste. She is casting it randomly. Especially in this fight, we're setting these timers at random. And I believe the biggest mistake people are making when playing against Talwer, because I heard people who can do a lot of damage on different bosses, they're trying to put Frurbath with accuracy set. No, your tank needs to be as tanky as possible. That's why I'm using Scarab, because every time I'm about to draw lob, I got this extra shield and it gives me time to heal up. As you can see here, that's Lydia about to fall, but it was long enough for us to get an extra rotation on Vicuc to keep her alive for at least one more, and then we have Scarab again. And her own shields, right? And now we're gonna have her immortality. I mean, immune to death. So, it's really good. She's really good here. And now she's fallen, all right? So, but we are timing out. So that's good. That's perfect. Right, and this is the only legendary artifact we're using. So let's remove it to give you a comparison of what can happen when you don't have that crown, okay? So the first thing is we're losing accuracy and we are below the required accuracy. You can fix it by having a hero elemental affinity, but I can't. So as you can see, 18 million with the crown. So we're very close to the damage we had with Witch's Remain. So yeah, if you don't have Witch's Remain, you'll still do good. But Witch's Remain is still definitely the best artifact in the game to increase the damage because it can be utilized by so many different heroes in so many different teams. So yeah, the last team I got here, I'll be honest, I didn't try any free-to-play tanks, I mean rare tanks, but this is the best I can do. We can put Hexandra, who is obviously still one of the better healers in the game, and again, I'm going to go full default. I don't care about what's happening and when it's happening. And the equipment, Hexandra will wear Mirror of the Living, and again we'll use Witch's Remain, but if you're planning to use Crown, you need to remove you need to deduct like 10 to 15% of the damage done by this team. And Hexandra with another healing on top of that. So we are focusing on keeping our tank alive, which is Lydia with, look at the defense on Lydia, I forgot to mention that. That is 5.2k defense on Lydia with almost 90k HP. And that's the same set I've been using on Frurbath as well. So yeah, these heroes work really well, and you definitely want to use a 4 range and 1 melee, which should be your tank. The best thing about me running this team in particular is we can build, I can build a Thunderbolt team with Frurbath and Vicuc and do twice 22 million damage. So when the Otherworld exploration comes, we don't care about extra damage. We only care about hitting this 22 million damage mark, and it will be only easier because by that time we will have our affinities improved and we'll also have guild buffs. So hitting that 22 million mark on multiple teams will be way easier, and the goal is to do it 14 times. And again, I'm not even using auto casting here. I'm just playing it on default. I'll let the game play itself. So the lowest effort team, and we're still doing good. So close to 22 million. With the right affinities, you will get there. There we go, and we time out with just Vani standing the last girl, standing 22 million, using 3 epics, 2 rares, and only 1 legendary artifact, which can be replaced by crown, but you need to deduct about 10 to 15% damage done. So, as a summary, both, Dauntless team is the easiest to build to do damage here, and it can be played without a legendary hero. It can be versatile, you can use different healers, different tanks, and even different damage dealers, but you need to run 4 range, 1 melee. Thunderbolt, on the other hand, it can work, but you require either Manda or Nissa supporting Perkunte. Without Perkunte, you can't play this. The Thunderbolt heroes do not do damage. Nissa is not a damage dealer. Shainaschtan is not a damage dealer. Manda is not a damage dealer. Unless there's something about Manda that I don't know, and I think we can build her as a damage dealer, but she will never do the same damage as Perkunte. Without Perkunte, it's really hard to build that team, so I'll highly suggest going Dauntless with this team. This is the cheapest team you can get, even if you don't have Frurbath or you want to use Frurbath elsewhere. And Iola can be replaced with Irina or Shook. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, please click the like button and consider subscribing to my channel. As always, thank you for watching. Stay safe. Bye!